Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unity of Reading Sunday celebration. Today is February 21st, and our daily word is let go and let God. I do what is mine to do, and I release the rest. Over the years, I have accepted more and more responsibility as I have grown in maturity and experience. I have also grown in wisdom as I am able to discern what is mine to do. I have learned what to take on and what to leave for others. I have also learned not to exhaust myself by taking on too many commitments. Perhaps most important, I know when to use my will and determination to make things happen and when to let it go. I recall times in my life when I felt frustrated that events did not unfold the way I had expected. I can see now how they unfolded perfectly, often in ways better than I could have imagined. I now let go easily, trusting in that perfection. And from Acts 17:28, in him we live and move and have our being, as even some of your own poets have said, for we too are his offspring. So in Unity, we teach over and over and over again, the only substantial lasting change that will happen in our physical reality is through a change or transformation in our consciousness. But what does that exactly mean? What is meant by consciousness in this context? I believe first it is important to explain what we mean by the word consciousness and consciousness transformation. I used a few areas of reference for these next messages, including the Bible, books entitled Measuring the Immeasurable, The Scientific Case for Spirituality, 40 Studies That Change Psychology, Spiritual Economics, and research papers found on the web. Consciousness in this context can be thought about as the way we perceive things in general and across situations. When used this way, consciousness designates the overall way that you perceive the world and your place in it. In other words, your consciousness is every aspect of how you experience and understand reality. The human experience of consciousness is the quality of mind. It includes self-awareness, your relationship to your environment, the people in your life, and your worldview or model of reality. Simply put, your consciousness determines how you experience the world. Your consciousness, or your perception of reality, your consciousness is your perception of reality, is created by the interactions of your subjective and objective lives. Your to it, mediate and ascribe meaning to both your inner and outer worlds. The general consciousness you possess profoundly influences the state of consciousness you experience on a day-to-day basis. For example, if you are a person whose general consciousness is positive, probably includes the assumption that overall people are good and finding a solution to a problem is almost always possible. Thus, in your daily life, you will react to situations in a generally trusting and open manner. In contrast, if you are a person who tends to be negative and react aggressively to different situations, your general consciousness probably includes the assumption that the world is not safe and you must defend yourself against even the smallest perceived threat. In other words, our various states of consciousness emerge out of our general pattern. Personality traits, thoughts, attitudes, beliefs, behaviors, etc., of relating to the world, others, and ourselves. You can see, therefore, how transforming your general consciousness can have profound implications on the way you think, behave, and feel in your everyday life. Unity teaches striving to achieve Christ consciousness. Some might call it a state of higher consciousness. So what exactly is higher or Christ consciousness? Well, think about it. If consciousness is your state of awareness, then Christ consciousness is the state of being aware of yourself as a spiritual being, being aware of who you really are. It is thinking and living from the thoughts of a higher spiritual nature, seeing things from a higher perspective. It is living from your unlimited spiritual nature, which is full of potential, as opposed to living from your lower, limited human nature. It is living with the knowing that there is more to life than just this. Ultimately, we define consciousness transformation as a profound shift in your experience of consciousness, resulting in long-lasting changes in the way you understand and relate to yourselves, others, and the world. So we look at consciousness being basically our consistent way of thinking, our attitudes, underlying beliefs, which create our behavior. Interestingly, what I found written in a research paper directly explains what we teach in Unity And we teach that we are all spiritual beings, all have that Christ or God nature. It is our human ego and erroneous thoughts which cover our divine spark and prevents the good from shining through. Basically, we forget the absolutely wonderful, powerful, creative beings we truly are. This is how it was written in the research paper. Although transformation results in change in thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, the actual process does not require changing these things directly. In fact, most experts we interviewed told us that consciousness itself does not change. Instead, it is our perception of consciousness that changes. Said in another way, who you are authentically does not change. Rather, as false selves are shed and buried elements of yourself are retrieved and integrated, your expression of yourself aligns with who you truly are. Thought patterns, attitudes, behaviors, and ways of being in the world that are incongruent with your core self may drop away. In other words, we drop our human ego consciousness and connect with and live from our higher nature or Christ consciousness. That is our core being. If we look around the world today, look at our communities, our countries, and ourselves, we can see that there's incredible need for consciousness transformation. But how did it get this way? Again, research in psychology as well as biblical writings have revealed answers which can help answer this question. Many of our attitudes, thoughts, and beliefs regarding ourselves, others, and the world around us, our consciousness, which we hold on today, is developed as we grow up. We learn through things said to us as children, how we are treated, what our parents, teachers, and friends say, and how they act towards us. Many times we incorporate others' beliefs as our own without question. These beliefs and attitudes, of course, vary depending on socioeconomic status, gender, race, culture, religious beliefs, among many other things. That is not to say that our entire consciousness is based on these things, but much of who we are and who we have become is based on outside influences which we have accepted as true. Remember, a belief does not mean that something is true. It's just that we have accepted it as true, and therefore it becomes true for us. The Bible talks many times about the iniquities of our fathers. The metaphysical definition of the biblical term iniquities is the mental habits that shut God out of consciousness. So being punished by the iniquities of our fathers means that we are punishing ourselves by continuing to hold on to the mental habits, the erroneous thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes that we have picked up along the way that are shutting God out of our consciousness. This is not to blame our past, but to really look at the attitudes and beliefs that we have picked up along our way in life and ask ourselves, how are these affecting my life, and are they serving me and true for me today? We can also stop and ask ourselves, what effect do my beliefs, attitudes, and actions have on forming my children's consciousness? Jesus knew the impact adults had made on children and warned, if anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. When our words or actions teach anything other than love to our children, we are causing them to stumble. We are teaching them to forget who they are. Each of us exhibits our own individual consciousness, which in turn affects mass consciousness. Mass consciousness can be thought of as the attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors common to and accepted by groups of individuals. These can be a collective consciousness related on religious beliefs, societal beliefs, gender, race, etc. Certain beliefs held collectively produces what in psychology is known as group cohesiveness. We can add to mass consciousness with our own attitudes and beliefs, or we can be influenced by others. The Bible is loaded with stories of people fleeing from oppression. We must realize the oppression that we are fleeing from is our own human consciousness, our own erroneous thoughts, attitudes, and beliefs. The Bible tells us that our greatest enemies are in our own household, meaning in our own minds. In the next few messages, I want to look at how consciousness has affected our society and how we can change status quo. Looking at poverty, long-term unemployment, and welfare, we can see how learned helplessness and self-fulfilling prophecy can become a huge factor. Children who grow up in an environment where parents are unemployed and receiving welfare pick up the attitude of lack and poverty. That is a way of life for them, and they begin to believe that that's the only thing there is. They acquire a lack or poverty consciousness. They may perhaps adopt the belief that trying to find a job is useless, producing learned helplessness and losing the will to try. Feeling they too will end up on the welfare and assistance becomes their self-fulfilling prophecy, and we end up with seeing more and more generational welfare. This is certainly not meant to put any blame on those in that situation, but to better understand a condition and to be open to a different solution. Eric Butterworth addresses this issue in his book, Spiritual Economics. He writes, "Your prosperity will always be a reflection of your consciousness, the degree to which your thoughts are centered in the divine flow. The sad thing is that many people who are unemployed have actually become unemployable because they have allowed the idea of lack and inactivity to become established in their consciousness. Long-term unemployment and self-pity and bitterness associated with it become an obsession that blocks the activity of reemployment or the reinfusion of the substance flow. The first thing is not to find a job, but to change your self-image, to resign from the enlistment of the army of the unemployed. Do not see yourself as unemployed, but as ready for work. As long as you are unemployed, you will tend to identify with the Labor Department statistics showing things are so bad that it might even be foolish for you to look for work. However, if you are ready for work and then you are in an entirely different ballgame." Butterworth shared this story. A few years ago, a man had a dream. He believed that economically deprived people could be spiritually rehabilitated and brought up into the middle class experience. With the cooperation of the New Jersey State Unemployment and Welfare Agencies, he was given the names of 500 chronic unemployables. These were people who had been unemployed for at least 2 years, during which time they had given up any hope of finding work and had settled into the support of the welfare system. These people were invited to enroll in a 2-week crash course in building consciousness, changing their self-image, learning to think positively, learning how to focus their skills and write job resumes. Through the device of role-playing, they learned how to apply for jobs, how to conduct themselves in interviews, and so on. Finally, at the end of 2 weeks of concentrated training and already showing signs of new confidence, these people were turned out to seek employment on their own. They were given no leads nor help of any kind. In a sense, their tutors simply said, "Okay, now go out and find jobs." Within 6 months, 80% of the group of 500 were gainfully transformed from tax-exalting welfare clients to tax-paying citizens. The report of this experiment included a careful follow-up of each person in the study who remained employed. One can imagine the same program being put into operation on a nationwide basis, causing a rippling effect through every segment of society. What a tremendous impact it would have been, lessening the welfare load and increasing the tax revenues. It could actually turn the nation's economy around in 30 days. The carefully documented report was called the Patterson Plan. You might wonder whatever became of it. Nothing. Which may well indicate that at least a part of the problem is the inertia of the whole welfare system, which is locked into the "you always have the poor with you" syndrome. The system was threatened by a plan that promised to relieve the problem and possibly eliminate much poverty. This very illuminating research project clearly revealed that poverty is corrected not by doling out money, but by helping people to change their self-image and achieve a rich mentality, to teach people to realize who they are and the possibilities that come with that. This is a clear example that knowledge, once applied and lived, is power. These people began to realize their own inner power, were able to accept and live new beliefs and attitudes, and see themselves as the creative, awesome beings that they are. They began to prosper, and as they did, it strengthened their new beliefs, attitudes, and consciousness. This new self-image allowed them to be who they really are. The responsibility is not just on those who struggle living in poverty, unemployment, long-term welfare, but the responsibility is on all of us. Perhaps we need to look at putting money towards new programs which help people know their self-worth and begin believing in and seeing possibility in their lives. Perhaps we need to begin to perceive them in a different way in which a positive self-fulfilling prophecy can be the result. Awareness and education of these spiritual truths in our society is the key, not more money. Again, long-lasting change will come with a change in consciousness. In Spiritual Economics, Butterworth also writes, "There is no question that we are facing a world in crisis. But let's look at the word crisis as the Chinese see it through the awkward process of translating it from English. They use a symbol of two words, danger and opportunity. Of course, we are facing critical times today and down the road into the future. However, we have the marvelous opportunity to usher in a new world in which people of awareness will live with what Thoreau calls the license of the higher order of being. We will need to expose our children at a very early age in school to the idea of a spiritual universe and their own unique relationship to it. We are not referring to religion, but to spiritual laws of being, which are now being shown evidence through scientific research. However, there's a great need to help all people, especially our children, to know themselves as whole persons in a whole universe, to know who they truly are, to realize their potential, to realize their beauty, and to help bring that out. The very natural next step would be for high schools and college students to be challenged with the concept of spiritual economics. Oliver Wendell Holmes once said, "A mind once stretched to a new idea can never go back to its original dimensions." When people have experienced expansions of their awareness of the prosperity principle, they will never be the same. Then they are ready to play a part in the new era as it unfolds. Every one of us needs to take responsibility for what is happening in our communities, in our country, and the world as a whole. Our individual consciousness plays a part in creating the collective consciousness. If we start realizing the issues that we have in society today are really caused by our own consciousness or habitual way of thinking, we can solve the problem from a higher level of thinking. Remember, a problem can never be solved from the level it was created. The solutions come from a higher state of consciousness. As Butterworth always says, it's not to set the issues right, but it's to see them rightly. Again, through knowing the first four unity principles, truly knowing and not just paying lip service, we can begin living them and see the changes in our own lives and in the world around us. We will truly then become the change that we wish to see. And so it is. I will take these thoughts into meditation. As I invite you to get comfortable in your seat, take a deep breath in and breathe in oneness. Focus on the words, I am. Breathe in, God is, and I am. God is, and I am. Allow your inner being to speak to you. Allow your inner being to express to you who you really are. Allow those words to fill your body. I am. I am love. I am peace. I am beautiful. I am power. I am wisdom. I am worthy. For I am a child of God. And it is God's greatest pleasure to give me the kingdom. As I really realize my relationship to the oneness of the universe, I open myself to claim the gifts that are mine. God is, and I am all that God is. For I and the Father are one. And with God, all things are possible. I invite you to take some time and visualize the desires of your heart. For those desires are your inner being screaming out to you, this is possible. You would not be shown these desires if you could not achieve them. Believe, believe, and claim. Claim it as yours now, and I will guide the way. Trust. Have faith in this universal energy. Know that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Know that the universe has your back. The universe is supporting your every want, your every step, your every need. Truly live these principles. Know the spiritual laws and incorporate them into your life. Know that there is only one power and one presence in my life. And in this universe, God, the good, omnipotent, know that I am created in the image of God. And therefore, as Jesus said, all I can do, you can do also, and even greater works. Know this deep in your being, not only giving it lip service, but truly let all those words soak into your consciousness. Feel your spirit and your body rising. See the world through a higher perspective. See yourself through God glasses. For God thinks you're wonderful. God has given you dominion over your life. Claim it. Live it. Get into the I can, yes, attitude. Forgive yourself from the past. Let go of blame, of shame. Begin today, begin this moment. And know who you truly are. I invite you to take time in the quiet and feel the peace. Feel the love. Let all things that are not a part of your core being slide away. Make a commitment to spend more time in meditation, in a realization of who you truly are. And then see the world through the eyes of love, through the eyes of faith, through the eyes of peace, knowing that you are worthy. Affirm frequently, God is, and I am all that God is. For I have been created in His image and His likeness. Affirm, I and the Father are one. And know deep in your being that more is possible. Know that truly, whatever I ask for, whatever I claim and believe, it is mine. Hold on to the vision of your life the way you want it. Productive, fulfilling, exciting, prosperous, filled with love, peace, abundance of all areas. See yourself happy, healthy, abundant, and giving to others. See yourself sharing this state of higher consciousness with those around you. For as you elevate your consciousness, you automatically elevate those around you. This is knowing the truth of your being. And as you truly, truly know the truth of your being, the truth shall set you free. And so it is. You may either come back to this space or continue in meditation, feeling the love, the peace, the harmony. And so it is. Amen.